So I want to say thank you for joining us for our exciting and informative webinar series, which promises to be educational and insightful journey for you. Don't worry if you missed the last two sessions. We recorded them and you can get copies from either myself or Dean. Today's webinar will feature speakers from Posh, an artificial intelligence solution for credit unions of all sizes, Synergent, who will discover ways to market your credit union and get results, and TruStage, who will discuss emerging risks and what risks you should be aware of. And if you do have any questions during this time, feel free to post something in the chat or unmute yourself and ask a question. And so here is Dean.
Good morning, everyone. So I don't see anyone from Posh on the webinar right now. So why don't we start with Synergent, and I will reach out to Posh to see if they can get on the line, and we will mix up the order today. So instead of being alphabetical, we're going to do something different. So Christine, if you could introduce Synergent while I hunt down Posh, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so today from Synergent, we have Doug and Fred, I believe, here. Yes, there you are, Fred. And they are partners of our association. They are expanding their marketing area and they have some really insightful information for you. So welcome, Fred.
All right, Christine, Dean, thank you so much. Big shout out to both the Association of Vermont Credit Unions and the Cooperative Credit Union Association for making this program happen. So we're honored to be here and to present and talk a little bit about how at Synergent we're driving member engagement for our credit unions. I'm Fred Barber. I'm an account executive at Synergent. I've been with Synergent for a little over 16 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with credit unions throughout the Northeast to introduce them to Synergent services. And Doug McDonald will be joining me in today's presentation. Doug, you want to say a couple words?
Hi, everybody. Doug McDonald, Vice President of Marketing Services. I apologize for not being on video. Not seeing that control, but I think that's because I'm presenting. So, but welcome everybody. Yeah, thanks for spending time with us today.
Okay, I think we got about 25 minutes, so we do have a short little agenda. Doug, if you want to go to the next slide. So quickly, we're just going to introduce you to Synergent with a quick profile on our organization. Talk a little bit about data-driven marketing. That's going to be the focus for today, and how that area of our services is what we're going to talk about, and how we're driving member engagement at credit unions with those services. And Doug's going to review a bit of a case study where we worked with one credit union to make that happen in several ways. And then we'll talk about next steps and you know, how you might reach out to Synergent for more information. Next slide. So Synergent, for those who don't know, is a CUSO. We go way back to 1971. We were formed as the services arm of the Maine Credit Union League. Today, we're still owned by credit unions. We're still governed by credit unions, and we still serve only credit unions. We count about 150 credit unions as partners today, and work with them on one of our at least one of our many services. And we do operate a lot like a cooperative. Yes, we are a for-profit organization, but we're owned by not-for-profits. So at the end of the day, we focus on our credit unions and their needs, and we focus on their members' needs. Next slide. Our mission has been for quite a while now to help credit unions succeed and to improve the financial lives of their members. So I think what you can count on with Synergent is that we're not just going to focus on what our credit union's needs are, but we're going to look one step ahead and really try to help you solve the problem of serving your members better. Our vision is to be a leader in helping credit unions be at the right time, at the right place, with the right solutions to meet rapidly evolving member needs. So things are moving at light speed today in this digital age, and it is no small feat to be able to keep up with where you need to be in order to provide the services that your members are demanding today. And it's not just the solutions that we deliver and provide, it's also the people behind those solutions. I think a big part of what we do is create a culture where we really do live out the people helping people culture of the larger credit union family. And we come to work every day thinking about, how can we help our credit unions do better, and how can we help our members do better. Next slide. So big picture, Synergent does offer a lot of services. We offer core processing, we offer payment solutions, we offer digital banking, and of course we offer marketing solutions. Today's focus is going to be on our marketing solutions. And but I did want to let the group know of the different services that we offer. We offer best-in-class solutions, so we make it possible for credit unions of all sizes to take advantage of solutions from world-class providers like Jack Henry, Fiserv, and others. And we deliver those solutions in a way that they exceed expectations for credit unions of all sizes by the way we deliver them and support them. And then first and foremost, whether you're getting the solutions from Synergent or whether you're getting the solutions from another provider, we take great pains into making sure that that whole ecosystem that the credit unions need to rely on is integrated and automated to the greatest degree possible. Next slide. And I know this is billed as the small credit union program. And I just wanted to point out that most of our credit unions, or I should say almost exactly half of our credit unions, are below 175 million in assets. But we do serve credit unions larger than that as well. So you're in good company here in partnering with Synergent for any of our services. And then finally, our main goal is to help our credit unions succeed, and that becomes harder and harder every year. Risk management today, you rely so heavily on technology, so the uptime and the expertise to run that technology is so critical. We bring that to our credit unions. The variety of solutions that you're going to deliver, it's so important to be able to deliver those in an integrated fashion, and then be able to bring new solutions into that ecosystem quickly as the market dictates. And then it's important to be able to scale, right? You can't just scale the old way. You have to scale by having better, more automated member engagement, and you have to be able to drive efficiencies across your operating environment. And then finally, you need people with expertise that can be there, and you can't have all that expertise on your team. It's just not conceivable. So we stand ready to help you wherever your team needs it. Next slide. So getting into marketing services, this is what Doug's going to drill down on a little bit, but I just want to say it always starts with the data. The first thing we do when we engage with a credit union is to really take a look at the data that is available on their membership. So that we can do that through transactional data mining, through a targeted look at the broader database, and we can use that data to automate onboarding and reboarding programs. We can help you with just a little marketing consult, or we can help you with full end-to-end campaign development. Every year, we win several CUNA Diamond Awards with our credit unions and MAC Awards as well. And then we have a variety of different solutions that we can bring into the campaign programs that we work on with our credit unions on. Direct mail, marketing automation, personalized microsites, just to name a few. Next slide, Doug. So Doug's going to talk a little bit about how we use these marketing programs to drive member engagement and specifically highlight a particular credit union that we recently worked with on these programs.
Thank you, Fred. And I was able to find my video. I won't torture everybody for long, but just did want to say hi, find my video button here. Today, just doing a quick deep dive on member engagement. I thought it would be really nice to share a story. We have a common engagement problem, challenge, or opportunity that you're probably familiar with as you serve your members. And it's really kind of related to onboarding and making sure your members are aware. You've changed a lot, likely over the last 4 or 5 years. Your members may remember you from 4 or 5 years ago, but may not realize all the new products and services that you have. And that's really a shame. And there's an opportunity with member engagement to reinform members about the products and services that you have, educate them how you can best serve them because you've evolved a lot. And so we see this as an opportunity for member engagement that's really data driven. And I'll share a little bit more on this in a case study format, but just wanted to give one example. And we have many examples that we can share of how that member engagement might look with your existing members, or really the low-hanging fruit when it comes to member engagement, and talk through an example today of how that might work and making sure that we're keeping your members engaged and really knowledgeable about your product and service offering. So I have an example to share today that is really this member engagement or reboarding project. It was Connected Credit Union, a smaller credit union based in Augusta, Maine, assets of 121, I think almost 122 million, and members of about 8,300. And Connected Credit Union, they wanted to create a sophisticated quarterly marketing campaign to help reboard their members. So this was not in the typical onboarding fashion of the first 90 to 120 days, but really trying to extend this over about a year campaign. And so they put together a lot of really smart, logical steps. We wanted to strike a balance between automation and personalization with helping target members based on their life stages. And it was an award-winning campaign. Just to skip to the end, Credit Union won both the Diamond Award and MAC Award. But really at the heart of all this is the data-driven approach that helped target and resonate with members. And share some examples on screen now. You can see variable pieces, right, which don't have only variable imagery for different life stages, but also have messaging and offers that resonate with those members where they are in their life stages. And so just to share a little bit more on that strategy, this product and service mix had those life stages in mind, but there was actually 15 variable images used in the campaign in email and direct mail, all with clear branding and a lot of personalization to resonate with a member. It wouldn't be uncommon to be in the same household and receive 2 different pieces just based on product and service mix, where the members were in their life stages, and a variety of variable factors. But to get to the results, the campaign had a 24% increase in checking accounts, a 22% increase in auto loans, and a 20% decrease in accounts closed. So really maintaining those relationships, helping to grow with better product adoption, whether that's checking or lending, and then retaining ultimately those members as well. Just some high-level results of the campaign. And we have lots of these studies to share. And I just pause for a second to mention that if you have an initiative, we probably have a case study of a credit union your size that you could learn from, where we have permission to share the results with you. That just gets you maybe further down the road to success. So if you have an initiative, I'm sharing one type of initiative today that you might consider, but we'd be happy to share a case study or two. We have dozens to share that will help you with your next initiative. But for this member engagement piece, we saw auto loans, terrific conversion, 71 new auto loans that tied back to the campaign, a conversion rate of 2.4. Anyone who knows about marketing conversion rates knows that a 1% conversion rate is outstanding. So we saw a 2.4% conversion rate on auto loans, 2.6% on checking accounts. E-statements, just unbelievable product adoption here, a conversion rate of 34.6% e-statements. That's helping the credit union save a lot of money on postage, especially there. And then overall, campaign totals, just outstanding conversion rate overall, 4.8%. And when we talk about conversion rate, we're not talking about eyeballs or click-throughs. We're talking about members taking action for additional products and services. So just outstanding results here. And translating that into dollars, the credit union experienced a 25% of their total balances tying back to the campaign. So we talk about attribution marketing, and we saw a significant lift when we compare year over year of about $1.2 million that ties back to the campaign itself, which again was a quarterly campaign. And then we saw a decrease over the same time period of account closures. Always important to retain the members you have, and this is really about feeding and carrying the existing members that you have today. And so some key takeaways from this quick case study is we saw a 24% checking adoption increase, a 22% auto loan increase, and 35% conversion rates. And who wouldn't want results like that? I share this because it's not entirely uncommon, and you'll see in the next slide that I have got some aggregated and average results that we see from some campaigns. This is all in a data-driven approach. And so whether you're looking to engage with new or existing members or create a better connection with those members, we can help you demonstrate your value to members and yield results that exceed your business goals and strategic expectations, no matter what your size. And I'll leave you with some resources at the end of the presentation to begin to evaluate your own marketing strategies and cultivate your engagement, your product penetration, retention, and growth. But first, just wanted to share some compelling statistics on how we help smaller credit unions see huge ROI and return on partnerships. So the first slide I have to share on that is really an aggregation of the campaigns we've provided in partnership with credit unions that we serve. And, we see an ROI or results, a break even. So results paying for themselves within 4.3 months on average. So it's really important that we see marketing as an investment and that marketing is paying for itself. We want to turn marketing from an art to a science whenever possible. So we're tracking that, we're attributing results, and we're making sure that there is a clear line to what we're providing. The average gains, whether that's a deposit campaign, a lending campaign, or otherwise, about 3.6 million. And in the last 8 years of tracking, we've done over 1,400 data-driven projects. Not all of those projects are glamorous campaigns, but we've served over 124 credit unions, and you can see that it's not a one-time event. A lot of the credit unions we serve, and many of you we may be serving today, experience the success and repeat their desire to continue with a variety of campaigns and initiatives. So it's become a very popular approach, a data-driven approach to member engagement. And then, we're all about quantifying the return on marketing investment. We see on average a return of $24.85 for every dollar invested in marketing. And that's based on, that's not lending available to members. That's based on first year interest income. And so what I often ask people to consider is, if you gave me $1 and I gave you back $24.85 each time you gave me $1, you wouldn't stop giving me $1. We take that pretty seriously from an investment standpoint and want to make sure we're optimizing the return on investment. Campaigns should be paying for themselves and then some. And I'll share in the next slide how that all comes together. But we're quickly approaching $500 million, just as Fred shared. Majority of the credit unions we serve, being small credit unions, make up the majority of that dollar amount. So generating that type of revenue is really, really important to us. And to illustrate how that breaks down in a single credit union, I have one of my favorite slides to share. And that's really something that we're very focused on, which is the return on partnership. We consider each one of you a partner, and we're here to serve you. We want to make sure that we're returning on the relationship, or returning on the partnership back to you. And so this is a little bit of a snapshot of a credit union over a 3-year span. They did 8 campaigns over that time period. That's not quite a 1 a quarter. Different types of campaigns, but 8 campaigns over a 3-year time period. They saw a return on their investment of $187 for every dollar they invested. And this is a credit union, smaller in size, kind of like what we're talking about today. An average credit union that we serve, 145 million in assets, almost 11,000 members. But the return on lending, so these are lending dollars committed, $313 to 1. So the $187 to 1 is a return on investment and hard dollars driven. And the first year earnings, that totaled $1.3 million. The reason I share this is we want to more than pay for marketing. We want marketing to help fund other things, help fund your growth, and help you achieve your goals and aspirations when it comes to growth. So I thought this was a good slide to bring together as an illustration on just how one relationship can drive a lot of value and a lot of return in that partnership. So with that, I know we're getting towards the last 5 or so minutes of our time period. I know that Fred has a couple more slides to share, which has some tools and resources that you can take advantage of. But we did want to share our email address. This will reach Fred or I directly, and the team to help serve and support you. rightsolution@synergentcorp.com. And with that, I'll turn the mic back over to Fred.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Nice job. I know we're up against it with maybe a minute left here or something, but I did want to say that for those of you with the CCUA, we are going to be at the Apex 2023 conference, so come by and see us there to talk a little bit further about the solutions that we offer. We can make this presentation available if those would like a copy of it. There's some steps here on how to get started with us. I won't go through all the steps right now, but it would be part of the presentation when we share it. And then Doug, if you want to go to the next slide quick. I think one of the big things that we do is it's really about the data. We try to follow the data in any of the work we do with our credit unions. And that usually starts with something we call a snapshot analysis, which is that first extract of your data and then our analysis of it. And we would be honored to do that first snapshot analysis for any of the credit unions on this presentation today. The bullets there are the different types of snapshot analysis we do. So after a brief intro call with you, we would be able to determine which would be the most appropriate snapshot to do. Even if that's all we do, it's really good information for your credit union to make some decisions on. I'm feeling like we're up against it, so I just want to say a big thank you. We really want to help you and your team, and just reach out to us, and we'll figure out the best way to make that happen.
Thank you, Fred and Doug. Does anybody have any questions for them? What is your biggest campaign that you're doing right now? while we're waiting to see if anyone has questions?
That's a great question. We have a few onboarding and reboarding campaigns, not unlike the example I shared today, which are pretty comprehensive. They're big in, there's a lot of strategy. There's a lot to setting them up, but they're a lot of fun too, because we can get really creative. There's no two that are alike. So yeah,
Nice.
it's a lot of fun.
That's good. Well, we appreciate your time. And if anybody wants to reach out to Fred and Doug, they had their information on the screen, and it will be available to you through Dean and Christine. And thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Doug and Fred. Up next is Nick Leonard from Posh, and Nick is going to be presenting Poshy, Posh's new AI solution designed to serve members and potential members of smaller credit unions. In his conversation, Nick is going to present how credit unions can leverage Posh using generative AI technologies to offer 24/7 multilingual service with low effort and without breaking the bank. He's going to feature Ron Draper from Somerville Credit Union, which was able to deploy Poshy in under 2 hours of effort on the credit union's part. So it's my pleasure to introduce Nick and Ron. The floor is yours.
Found that unmute button. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate it. Excited to talk to you all today a little bit. I have a presentation, Ron, but feel free to jump in and do your thing as I go. So I'm going to start by introducing Posh, myself. We'll dive right into the AI stuff. What's going on? What an exciting time it is for us and for a number of our partners who are trying to deploy AI solutions to help them and their membership. And then we'll dive into a demo. I'll just load up I'll load up Somerville's credit union and we'll see what it can do. So that's my plan. And we'll get to it. So Posh, our mission is to empower financial institutions of all sizes to best serve their communities, leveraging AI. Keyword for this audience right here being of all sizes. As I dive into a little bit about Posh, one of the things you'll notice is we haven't always done the best of empowering all sizes. That's a newer thing for us. We work with 65, 75, something like that, different financial institutions, mostly credit unions, mostly in the billion plus AUM range. Historically. But most recently, we started diving into saying, okay, how can we serve the other 90% of financial institutions? We don't want to forget about them. We know they play a vital part in making sure members of the broader US community are banked. And so how do we get involved? And so that's kind of why we're here. Posh, just so you know, we were spun out of MIT. We're located in Boston. Back in 2018, we've taken on investment from a number of different credit unions through just direct investment, as well as through groups like CUNA Mutual and Circle. Me personally, I'm our SVP of small markets. So that means anyone under kind of 500 million, I'm really focused on how do we get our technology out there and used by these organizations. And so what we're here to talk about is we're talking about AI. How does it impact these organizations? So what about this AI thing? Obviously, you've probably heard of ChatGPT, you maybe have played with it, and then we're kind of in this moment where AI is starting to disrupt multiple different industries. And sometimes it's disruption, but sometimes it's empowerment of the staff and the services they deliver. And so we stepped back earlier this year and said, hey, how are we using some of these new techniques to serve kind of the broader financial institution community? We talked to some smaller credit unions, Ron being one of them, back when we first started. We started asking questions, right? Like why could this be valuable? We heard things like this, like, I'm scared of my members reaching out on weekends when we aren't there. We heard things like, how can I even get started, right? It's difficult to do diligence on an AI company. I don't fully understand what it's capable of. And I really don't feel comfortable like deciding between vendors. Everything is too expensive. Large implementations aren't an option for us. Multi-year commits are non-starters for us. By the way, I kind of messed up my slide here, so I'll get to that was going to build out. But and the last one that I'll show here is this. We aren't serving our non-English speaking members well enough. And so that's kind of the problem set that we came out with. We said, hey, well, we've got the AI experience. expertise. We work with financial institutions across mostly larger asset sizes. We have an aspiration to work across every asset size. How can we, what problems are they facing and how can we start helping them? And so we kind of put all this together and we came out and we launched what we call Poshy. So we are Posh. We have an assistant that we call Poshy. And here's the 5 major reasons why it might be interesting for you. 1, we can set this thing, it goes on a website, right? So like your website, you might have a little widget on the bottom right-hand corner, or if in mobile, you can just look at it on your phone, and you can deploy Poshy in hours, not weeks. And I literally mean that. Poshy will, of its own accord, read your entire website, try to understand what are the different product offerings you offer, what is the history, when was it founded, who are the people, whatever content is on your website, Poshy is going to be able to understand. Will exist there as the 24/7, 365. It's always going to be there. If there's 50 people on your website at one time, handles all 50. If there's just one, works with just that one. Speaks numerous different languages. I know a lot of the ones up here in Boston, Spanish, Portuguese, Vietnamese, Chinese, those are all really big ones for a lot of our kind of nearby community. But across the US, you can imagine different languages carry different levels of importance in their own communities, but Poshy can handle them. Poshy works too. One of the big things that we were excited about is jumpstarting applications. So can we get people to the right part of your website where people are can apply, right? So if someone lands on your website, navigation and making it browsable and searchable is always a challenge, right? Can someone get to where they want to go so they can take the action they want to take? Poshy can help people get around the website, so we'll show that. And when I first put this slide together and we started talking to people in April, this last bullet, pricing that works, right? No long-term commitments, no implementation fees. One thing I'm really excited to bring to this group, which was just decided last week, is that in coordination with the CCUA, we've been able to put this together between Posh and the CCUA that actually Poshy's free for all CCUA members. So if anyone in the audience said to me, hey, Nick, can we get this thing going? We could have something like this on your website in relatively short order, like hours, not weeks. And it's absolutely free. So that's what I'm really excited to kind of announce to this group. There are a whole bunch of things we're excited to do over the long term. Thinking about things like core integrations or loan origination, moving from just the website over to the phone line. These are all things that we've done with some of our larger clients. Obviously, you can imagine the technical work there is quite expansive. And so that's something we're going to build into. But what we're really excited about right now is just like to start, we can get someone up in hours. This can exist on their website. And hopefully it can help some members either serve your existing members who are landing on your website or prospects who are coming and trying to learn more. And it's absolutely free for all CCUA members. So with that, that's going to be the presentation. I'm going to swap over to Somerville FCU, or Somerville's Credit Union, as we call it, and we'll see what Poshy says to some questions. Hopefully it does well. I expect it to. But this is going to be my last slide before I do that. So if anyone out there is like, wait, this sounds great, I would love to get this on my website. It's free. There's no reason not to. You can just email Poshy at posh.ai. Just put your subject line, learn more, and we'll follow up with you, and we can get you we can get it working for you. So with that, let me switch tabs. Make sure, I think everyone can probably see Somerville's Credit Union. If you can't, someone type in the chat so I know. But I'm assuming you can see Somerville's Credit Union website right here. Down here in the bottom right, we'll refresh it so you can see what's happening in the bottom right. Hi, hola, can I help? We say yes, and we can talk to Poshy. Like, I'm Nick, we'll start easy. How can I assist? Where is your branch? Oh, there it is. Who is your CEO? Everyone knows that one, right? If you know Ron, you know that one. I'm interested in a loan. What kind of loan? Maybe an auto loan. Okay, so this is what I was alluding to earlier, right? So it's not just answering the question, right? It's getting them to the right place on the website. I can do some more things. let's see if I drop a little Chinese question in, maybe not everyone can read it, but if you look in here, you see this, that's 9 to 4:30. You can probably guess what I asked. When are your hours? Right here, it's saying from Monday through Friday. So, handling multiple languages. My Spanish is not very good, but I think something like this is like, what's your phone number? So there we go. If you give this a call, that's Somerville Federal. That's Somerville's credit union number. Call, ask for Ron. You'll talk to him. So at that point, hopefully I've demoed a bunch. Hopefully this is helpful, gives you an idea. This type of experience is something, like I said, I'm going to say it again. Hopefully everyone remembers it, but like in partnership with CCUA, we're really excited to offer it to anyone in CCUA for free. That's how there's no catch. That's what we're doing. With that, I'm kind of done. Ron, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience at all, or otherwise I can also take questions?
Yeah, I'll just want to segue off of what you said. So, pardon the pun, but who said there's no such thing as a free launch, right? So, Nick and Posh has proven that. I was pleasantly surprised. I think Dean started off with in under 2 hours. We did not even require that time. I guess all that time was done by the folks there at Posh. So we're just really fortunate and happy to be able to offer this as a first step into artificial intelligence for our members. Just to recap, as Nick said, real easy implementation, no core involvement at all. Just add the virtual assistant to your website, multiple languages. They really treat us like an equal partner. We're 50 million in assets, just a couple of thousand members, but you wouldn't know it. To be able to have some of the same services offered to our members on our website that the DCUs of the world have, that's pretty impressive. And it really gives me and my staff and our board just a feeling of being able to punch, higher, much higher than our weight class. So I want to thank you. And I want to encourage everyone to certainly get involved. This is a real easy lift, a real easy implementation. And that's what we really hope to see more credit unions our size, smaller ones, to be able to take. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I know Nick has a lot more knowledge in this area than I do, but just from a small credit union point of view and how it went down, I'm here for you.
So I'll start off with a question, Ron. So since you've implemented Poshy, have you noticed that your call volume has gone down with some of those questions?
So we haven't really tied and tracked the call volume. Call volume has been going down anyways, it's like it has for everyone. It's really started with the pandemic, I think, and everyone's starting to do things online, but certainly the phone does not ring anywhere like it used to. And a lot of those questions, although we've only been on since I think June, so it's just been a few months and it's been a steady ramp up in volume. It's hard to track at this point, but there are always going to be people that are going to say, geez, what time do you guys close? And they're going to call as opposed to looking online, right? That's just always going to be the case. But as Nick alluded to, and a larger credit unions use this service, and it's going to be able to integrate with your phone system so that you're going to be able to have people that, I think Nick had shared with me recently that 15-20% of surveys, the survey showed about 15-20% of callers do ask these frequently asked questions that can come from a website. So that's the next step after the virtual assistant. And another thing that I'm sure Nick could speak more eloquently than I can about this, but some of the larger credit unions are enjoying what's called knowledge assistance. So that's something that a small credit union is going to have as well. It's a feature in artificial intelligence where if someone comes up, let's say someone comes up to a fairly new teller or universal employee, universal banker type of position, and they may not have all the knowledge. Maybe there's a question that has to do with a specific segment of a consumer loan policy or real estate loan policy, and they might have to leave their station or put the person on hold, or if they're in front of them in person and say, I need to talk to my manager about this. These kinds of questions can all be answered through a knowledge assistance, and that knowledge assistance is really built upon the data that comes from policies and procedures and practices that all credit unions have. They just need to have access, and that's something that Posh can do as well.
Very nice. And I have another question, and this one's for you, Nick. So if we had a credit union that wanted to get in queue to get set up on this, what would their wait time be? I know it's only a few hours to implement, but I'm sure you have other jobs in the queue. So what would their lead time look like?
After we have our first conversation, we can get them up in a week, and we can have that conversation later this week if they want. Like I confidently can say, I think we will not be the ones to hold anyone up.
All right. All right. Any other questions from the audience?
I know I'm really impressed with how quickly you turn it around for 2 hours to get a credit union up and rolling. That's really good.
Yeah, I think what's exciting, right now, this is starting to talk about some things that are developing, but we're actually to the point now where the actual Poshi itself can basically read the website, derive a bunch of facts from the website. So the way it actually works under the hood, it's reading all just the content, it analyzes that to come up with a list of several hundred facts it knows about that organization, and we've actually got that process down to about 2 minutes. So that part is really fast. And then the way the next step of the process works is we give you a code snippet. If you have a webmaster who works on your website, or you use a different, an agency or someone like that, we can just give them a 1-page doc that includes that snippet with instructions, and it should take them about 15 minutes. And so the actual, if we were trying to move as fast as possible and we had everyone in the room, we could probably do it in about 20 minutes. But just naturally, there's always the emails and the communication, I say a week.
Oh yeah. No, that's good. Does anyone else have any other questions for either Nick or Ron? Well, thank you, gentlemen.
I just want to add, those that know me, and there's probably plenty on this call right now, I'm by no stretch of the imaginations a CEO that would be known as someone that's really highly technical. With that said, I would encourage anyone to get on to ChatGPT or Google's version of Bard. Bing has a version as well. I mean, just to try it, there's a free version. It's doesn't require much from you at all. I mean, if I could pick up on that, and then you can do things, and I've read and I've done a little bit myself, where you can do like social media posts. You can generate things through using that search engine. And this is strategic planning ideas. There's just there's so many. Of course, it always requires a human oversight and editing often of that, but it can really kickstart if you're just stuck on ideas. It's really there for you, and I would say use it, get to use it, because it's not going to go away, and it's only going to get more prevalent, and it's going to help us really as small credit unions. It's going to help us remain relevant.
I agree. And there was a question to see their monthly fees associated with this.
Yep. No monthly fees. It is free through the partnership with CCUA. And so, yeah, if you're a CCUA member, you get access to Poshi completely for free, no monthly fees, no implementation. There's nothing there. I will say there's some things that we are building, right? Like when we get to the phone, there might be other products that at some point we will charge for. But I feel like from a kind of our personal mission perspective, it seems like the number one blocker for so many people is just getting started. And so, we hope that with Poshi being this website, AI-powered website assistant being totally free, it can help a lot of people take that first step, which, if you're looking for the, what's in it for you, I mean, as a business, it's great for us if lots of people are taking their first step into AI, because, hopefully we can be a partner down the road as people take steps 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if someone just wants to take step 1, Poshi is totally free, and that is through the CCUA partnership.
So we do have some credit unions, Nick, that are not part of the CCUA, but they're part of the Credit Union Association of Vermont. I'm sorry, the Association of Vermont Credit Unions. So from earlier conversations, how would that work for them? So is it a 60-day free trial, and then if they don't like it, they can just cancel, no harm, no foul? Or so can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're actually the offer actually does stand for Vermont too. We kind of bucket it as everyone attending Apex. Everyone who's eligible to attend Apex can use Poshi for free. So for that group.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I guess that answers the question.
I
Yeah.
know. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And Nick, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of emails after this webinar today.
I hope so. I think the one thing that we, maybe didn't mention is like, AI can be really something where we are a bit all in it together, because the more times Posh is answering questions for Ron's members, right, the smarter the systems get and the better they serve everyone else. And so there is an element of like, the more people that are using it, the better the systems will become. And so it's an exciting thing that way, even though it's kind of hard to, get like a mental picture of, but that element of everyone kind of working together is really powerful too. So thank you all for having me. I really appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your time. And thank you, Ron, for joining in the conversation.
Thank you,
And
Nick.
so next we have TruStage. Mark is here. I believe I saw him. And
I am, yeah.
Well, hello.
Hey.
And so Mark has been with TruStage, or before it was CUNA Mutual, since 1997. And he is an account executive, and he is here to introduce Becky, who is going to be doing a presentation for us today.
Yeah, thank you for using the year. It doesn't, I mean, the year I started rather than the number of years, right? Because at least you have to do the math.
That
But
is
yeah,
too hard for me right now.
again, my name is Mark Gagne. I'm an account executive with TruStage, now formerly CUNA Mutual. I work with medium to small credit unions in the New England states, which is awesome because I'm originally from the state of Vermont. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Becky Garden, who is a risk manager on our risk management team. Becky has, I think, over 17 years as a risk manager. I think she has more in the financial services industry. Today, she's just going to talk about some of the emerging risks that we're seeing that we think credit unions should be aware of and be looking out for. And probably most importantly, talking about how you can mitigate some of those risks that we're seeing. So with that, Becky, thanks a lot for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. And good morning, everyone. And is everyone okay? You can see my screen right now? Emerging risks and fraud?
Nope, not right now. I can't.
You cannot. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. I will try to share again.
It's starting to come. Yep, there we go.
Now you can. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me. As Mark said, been with TruStage for a few years, all of that in the risk management area. And one thing that we know is that risk continues to keep evolving. And so, I love listening to Nick's presentation on Posh. AI is definitely an area that we're also getting into. So not to be kind of a Debbie Downer of the side of it, but of course there's always risk with everything, right? Not specifically with Posh and kind of that surface level, scanning of the website and answering questions, but we can get into a little bit deeper on even how ChatGPT can function and how it can affect and the risk that could bring to the credit union as well. So we do have some resources around those types of topics, but do want to focus a little bit briefly. I know we don't have a ton of time, but how diverse risk is and how it's continually changing. And with that means that there's just more places for risk to hide. And so, with everybody at the credit union kind of having on your risk management hat, we're going to just touch on a few of those today. As we go through here. So I thought I'd give an update on Zelle and where we're at with that right now. So believe it or not, it's been about 5 years already since we saw some of the largest losses reported from credit unions, and we started kind of diving in to Zelle as a P2P provider. We know not everyone is using Zelle. You use other P2P providers, but we did find out, the fraud and what the fraudsters are attempting to do is relatively the same, regardless of where you're at. So the fraudsters have been deploying a variation of what we call the traditional Zelle scam, where they send the text alerts to your members, where it appears to come from the credit union, and the text message will tell your members that their account has been suspended due to suspicious activity, or they'll ask if the members attempted a Zelle transaction. The text will contain, this is the updated version, will contain typically a link And that link will make it look like it's taking you to the credit union's website, when in fact it's a spoofed website made to appear like the credit unions. So your members start entering all of their information to validate what is, suspected as these fraudulent transactions. At the same time, the fraudster is taking all of that information and entering it actually on the legitimate website, getting in. Once the fraudster initiates the member will click on that link and it's coming from an unregistered device, it will trigger that two-factor authentication passcode. The member will enter that as well. The fraudster is also getting that. So at this point, they are doing a full account takeover. So several different strategies, and we really encourage you, if you are a policyholder of CUNA Mutual or TruStage, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to work through this with you and give you some of these risk mitigation strategies very specific for your credit union, but really taking a look at, how you're implementing your program. Especially if you're just introducing Zelle, we really encourage lower daily limits than typically what your processor will want to roll that out at. And so, keeping those low really helps limit your loss initially until you feel you can get a really good handle on how the program is working for you and for your members. A lot of credit unions are just kind of rolling Zelle out to all current online banking users. We're not recommending that. We're really looking at offering like a opt-in enrollment feature for your members so that you can properly authenticate them by either having them come into the branch, go through the call center, but somewhere you can actually authenticate them. We've seen numbers about 70% of credit unions that will roll this out fully, and the fraudsters will then enroll those members through account takeover or that Zelle or that P2P feature if it's left available out there. Of course, with any online banking service that is offered, whether it be P2P, online, wire requests, anything, we don't recommend allowing any password resets from an unregistered device. So really making sure that device is registered with your credit union. Blocking or delaying any P2P transfers that occur immediately following a password reset has been one of the biggest red flags. And then, of course, we do have a couple others listed here, which you can see, and I'll make this available for you as well. But I do want to mention the last one, which is disabling Zelle during the midst of the fraud is going to be really critical. So we've worked with a lot of credit unions as they're kind of suffering and going through these losses where, they really they're not sure how to get a handle on it. They can't quite figure out why it's happening, how it's happening. And there is a condition within the bond, which we call condition in 12, which does require credit unions to take all reasonable measures to minimize a loss once it's discovered. So that would be disabling Zelle. If it's kind of burning and you can't seem to limit those losses at that time, we really recommend just shutting it down till you can get a hold on it. That is something we're more than happy to help you with. So, consider that as you're working through that fraud. So in addition to the security procedures and, implementation on that side of it through the online banking, there's also the liability side of it. So as you have members that have fallen for the scam, you'll have to determine how and when Reg E will apply. And so in most of these cases, the CFPB has been very clear to say that members that are victimized in these scams are going to be entitled to Reg E protection. So not all versions, because we've seen now, I think we're at like 4 or 5 different versions of scams that are associated with these P2P platforms that we've seen. Kind of the traditional account takeover that would apply, the Zelle Yourself scam, which if you're familiar with our Risk Alert program, we've sent a lot of information out through that way. The Zelle Yourself, they were instructing members to actually disable their phone number. They were the fraudster was taking over the member's phone number, and then they were sending funds to themselves in kind of a hoax of what fraudsters are telling them will be a credit reversal, because they're going to help them get their stolen funds back. And so you need to Zelle yourself, and members were falling for that. So that was not something that was necessarily covered. There is a link in here to the CFPB's FAQs around this particular, scams related to Zelle and the P2P platform. So I do encourage you to, look into those, because ultimately what this means is that credit unions that are choosing not to recredit their members under Reg E could face fines and penalties associated with that. So we do want to make sure and point that out. Another fraud that I want to point out is business email compromises, or BEC scams is what we kind of refer to them as. They continue to plague credit unions and even business members recently. So for those not familiar with the scam, it involves typically phishing attacks on your organization with a goal of stealing money or sensitive and confidential information. The business email compromises, typically what will happen is the fraudster will craft an email that appears to come from the CEO or someone within your organization to another employee within the credit union. So typically it will look like it's from the C-suite to someone maybe on the frontline staff, member service rep, someone a little bit lower level, and it will have instructions to pay a vendor, and usually it must be done immediately. Some of the examples that we've seen as actual claims that have come in have been, I'm leaving out of town. This is from the CEO. I'm leaving out of town. I forgot to pay this. You need to send this by wire transfer immediately. And then can you make sure and let me know when this has been done? Just shoot me an email, because the fraudster has taken over the email account. Then the employee does this. Oftentimes, once the wire is sent, is when the employee realizes this seems really fishy, very out of character for that CEO to send something like that. So there are definitely some red flags, that come along with these BEC scams. And, the sense of urgency, the request immediately coming from the higher level authority, and they often coincide when they're going to be out of the office. So the fraudsters have really done their homework. We have a little note here that ChatGPT, it could make this very difficult to distinguish between real and fraudulent messages. So this is one of the risks of AI as we move forward, and kind of some of the things that we're focusing on is that, the AI has the functionality to craft really good fraudulent phishing emails. And so, some of these most common red flags, of course, the urgency in that will still, potentially all be there, but we're not seeing the grammatical errors, the spelling errors, that typically come along with the phishing emails of the past, where, you could clearly tell that could be someone of, non-native speaking, that the English just is not there. So that's one thing to consider with this, but with the business email compromises, it's really that sense of urgency, usually impersonating a trusted supplier or vendor to pay that. So some of the mitigation strategies there would be to, always confirm the legitimacy of the request. If it's coming from the C-suite, really creating a culture within your credit union that you want all employees to verify. Check, trust, but verify. And then before conducting any of that, if you're in the office, encourage that they walk down and face-to-face ask, did you really request this? If you share your cell phone numbers amongst your employees, making sure that there's a second way to just verify rather than trusting just email before those wire transfers are sent. And I do want to pause for just a moment. Do we have a hard stop at the top of the hour?
Nope. If you have some more time to talk, then that's fine.
Okay.
Because it's being recorded. So if somebody needs to drop off, they can always come back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Christine. So with that, a couple other things I wanted to point out that we're seeing around the BEC scam, or very similar to that, is a fraudulent instruction for vendor remittance. So this is where the fraudsters are impersonating a legitimate vendor. So this time they're not getting into your CEO's email. They're not doing that. They may have gotten into your vendor's email, but what they're doing is they're sending an email to the credit union, spoofing the email of that vendor, appearing to come from them. They'll have updated payment instructions. So typically a new routing number, a new account number to pay future invoices. So along with this initial request, they are not requesting a funds transfer payment of any type at this point. Sometimes it will be, that it could sit for 6 months. It might only be, twice a year you pay this vendor. They're okay with that, but they're updating these instructions so then in the future, it just goes and you don't know until there's a delinquent notice from that particular vendor or supplier. So definitely something to be aware of. That has been trending more recently that we have seen. Another one I want to mention is text messages and spoofed websites. So this kind of coincides along with those Zelle transfers that we are seeing and the Zelle scam of recent. And that is those fraudulent text messages, again, appearing to come from the credit union with that spoofed link to a bad website, where then the fraudster follows all of the instructions and the member, or the fraudster, is able to take all that information, enter it into your legitimate website, and get in and do these full account takeovers. Another one of the last, risks, and I could go on for days with risks, and so we just selected a few today, but that would be real-time payments. So offering real-time payments is now a reality. So the term real-time payment is used to describe any funds transfer that allows for immediate availability of the funds to the recipient of the transfer. So to be classified as a real-time payment, it must enable both the payer and the payee to see that transaction in their account balance immediately and provide the funds that the payee can use right after the payer initiates that payment. These payments are irrevocable, and so you can't pull them back once they have been sent. And I do want to mention, we do say don't confuse real-time payments with faster payments because of the instantaneous nature of these payments and the fact that they are irrevocable. They cannot be reversed by the payer or the payer's financial institution once they are sent. And so right now you have options for real-time payment networks through the Clearinghouse, RTP network, and then now FedNow for instant payments, and Zelle is where we've already seen this in action. So we know there's risk, of course, of real-time payments. Most credit unions that we have talked with are starting out as senders only. And the reason for this is because as receivers only, they're not in that send and receive, so that's an error on there. If you were a sender, you're going to have a little bit more risk there, but we see most credit unions are going to start off with just being a receiver of those credits. So there's virtually no time to review these transfers because the fact that they are in real time. So with the potential for fraud and being irrevocable, there's definitely going to be risk around this. What we're looking at and working with credit unions is around the scam side of it, and really looking at, as you deploy this, what your online banking security features are. We're looking to discuss new account fraud. We do expect some money mules to be receiving those fraudulent payments, setting up those new accounts and opening those. So that's really where we're expecting to see some fraud as more credit unions start to utilize these real-time payment options. So there are definitely some controls to consider for online banking. As I kind of mentioned before, it really is going to come down to how you are properly authenticating your members. So those that are enrolling for online banking through your website, how you're sending passcodes, we recommend either an app-based authentication or a token in order to transmit that two-factor authentication so that you could properly authenticate your members, just because of what we have seen through online banking. And most importantly, we would recommend, when you do start with the real-time payments, is considering lower transaction limits and going as far as daily limits, weekly, as well as monthly limits. So really considering that layered security approach. And then on the right-hand side here, we do have how, what we're looking at as how fraudsters are defeating these two-factor authentication passcodes. And so they'll hack the email accounts, social engineer your call center. They're targeting the call center when they can't get the member to participate. So that's something to be aware of. They'll social engineer mobile phone carriers. They'll do kind of the SIM swapping scam or the port out scam with the phone numbers. So these are all types of scams that we have additional resource material on. So if you are a bond policy holder, please feel free to contact us. The Business Protection Resource Center has all the resources associated with each type of these scams, in addition to more detail on all of the risks that I mentioned today, in addition to the risks that I didn't mention. So we have about 15 different risks on our radar right now that we're kind of keeping an eye and ear on, in addition to all of the other risks that that are out there that are a little more well known. The emerging risks is really what we're focused on right now for bringing you kind of relevant, up-to-date information and resources. So definitely feel free to contact us if you have any questions. I can take some questions now if you'd like, if anybody has anything. That was the kind of hot topics that I wanted to make sure to cover with you today.
That was great information, Becky. I appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, they can unmute or they can put something in the chat. I know, as I hear of all of this fraud going all over the United States, and it's, the fraudsters are getting smarter and we're getting busier. So we don't have time a lot of times to double check what we're doing or where the email's coming from. And, I like your point of saying, well, if Becky sent me an email saying, hey, I need $45,000 wired out today because I'm on vacation, I like your idea of, I'm going to text Becky first to confirm that's her, because I have her phone number and I know it's accurate. And then that definitely would stop a lot of fraud.
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any other questions? And if you do, is there material, one question that I always have is, how do we communicate this to our members, because as you know, they're busy too. They use different models of working with us, either online or, through the branches. What is the best way to communicate all this fraud with people?
Yeah, that's a great question, Christine. And one that we do get from a lot of credit unions recently is that, those traditional methods of statement stuffers, they don't work. No. And or haven't been working. So definitely the banner messages on online banking, which I noticed, as Nick was sharing the other credit union's website, they had a big pop-up that came on, initially to say, this is fraud, this is what's going on out here. We do have some resources that we have created that are specific for members, so they could be downloaded and you could share them directly with your members. So that, whether you're posting it on the website or you're sending it out. But more recently, we've seen a lot of credit unions that kind of like the model where you might have a mortgage class that you hold, or a financial class to, for your members, is holding an education session to say, this is what's happening. Really encouraging that for these extra services, and this is, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a second, but some of the products and services that you offer to your members are not required, right? So, they may open an account, but a debit card is a privilege. You know, utilizing Zelle online is a privilege. All of these things, having some type of way that, even if it is just an opt-in box that they have to check, to make sure that they are aware that the scams that occur with that type of product or service, you know, is another way to go. So to kind of force them to educate themselves a little bit, because at the end of the day, like you said, you can't do it alone. You really do need your members to be diligent as well. So anything you can do is better than nothing.
Thank you. Those are great tips, Becky. Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time. And this is recorded, so we will be making sure to get a copy out to you. And next week we have some more presenters coming. And as always, we thank everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.